Whatever it takes to get you to try harder, read more, set your goals, and go for it.
What happened that day is you saw people's emotional fitness. People that are angry got angry. They always get angry. People that were fearful got even more fearful. It was the end times.
Tony, it's good to have you here. Good morning.
Thank you, Matt.
Let me talk about fear right off the bat. Fear of not being able to make ends meet, provide for your family, fear you're going to lose your job or your home or a combination of the two. How do you tell people to deal with the emotion of fear?
I think people have to educate themselves as to what's really happening right now. We are going through a transition. It's a season, and every generation has faced some pretty tough seasons at some stage. Some do it at a very young age, some do it at an older age. And we talk about the Great Generation. If you were born in 1910, by the time you're 20 years old, you were in a Great Depression. When you were 30, you were in World War II. So our generation has had it fairly easy. We've all experienced pain. I'm sure you've experienced it in your family. I have in mine. But we haven't experienced it at a cultural level to the extreme that we're starting to experience
So you're saying we haven't been adversity tested. We lived through a period where mortgages seemed too good to be true, so we bought bigger houses.
That's right.
Where gas seemed relatively cheap, so we bought more and bigger cars. Where the stock market was booming, so we invested. Now we're finally seeing adversity?
We're seeing it at a much deeper level, and we're going to see more of it. I mean, we have $9.5 trillion worth of debt against the GDP that's, $13.5 trillion. So there are real challenges. They're not going to go away tomorrow. But here's what we have to be able to do. With every season, there are challenges, just like nature seasons, and there are opportunities. And right now, while you're saying, huge deflation that we're seeing right now in prices of real estate, we're seeing people losing their homes at 250,000 people a month. We're putting ourselves in a position, we see this tremendous volatility in the stock market. But at the same time right now, commodities, oil, gold, foodstuffs are exploding. They're in a bull market. Right now, if you try to use the U.S. dollar over in Europe, you get to see that, it's dropped by 40%. But if you took that same money and you're investing in Vietnam, even if you're just a little investor just getting going, your money goes a long way and you're in an economy that is growing at a different rate.
I like your concept of looking for the bright side, the opportunity, as you put it. But if the guy's calling you at night as you're sitting down to have dinner and he's trying to collect on the bills and you're worried about losing your benefits at work, it's tough to look outside your immediate misery and see opportunity. So how do you coach people to do that? How do they get over that hump?
You have to train yourself emotionally and mentally. It's like anything else. People have a habit. When 911 happened, I was together with about 2,500 people from 45 countries. It hit. We got the phone call at 3 in the morning. We're actually in Hawaii. And I had about 110 different people from the financial district here. Many people live there. So 65 people plus had lost their entire business, all their friends, all their family. What happened that day is you saw people's emotional fitness. People that are angry got angry. They always get angry. People that were fearful got even more fearful. It was the end times. There were individuals there that were caretakers, and they were out there finding it. So it's a habit to find your emotions. So what I'd say to people is you have to discover what your emotional pattern is, and then you condition the emotion you do need. In those situations, what you need more than anything else is creativity, determination. You have to have some emotions that'll get you over it, because the force that shapes the marketplace up and down is the force that shapes your life. It's emotion.
Two quick things. Phil Gramm, former senator, got in some trouble last week when he said we become a nation of whiners when dealing with this economy. Is there some truth to it, in your opinion?
Well, I think we're emotionally unfit as much as we could be. I mean, there's no question that many people, I've had a doctor come to me and say, you have a tumor in your brain. I want to operate. So is Lance Armstrong. The question is, when those things happen, what do you focus on? What does it mean? What do you do? Do you focus on, why this happened to me? Or what does it mean? Is it over? Or are you just beginning? Is this a gift? In Lance's case, he found a way to take enough action. After you deal with cancer, you look over at somebody on a bicycle, and it's pretty easy. You win 7 of these in a row.
So if we're supposed to get in this emotional good shape earlier on in our lives, is there an opportunity here, Tony, for parents? Families are going through a hard time. Parents of kids, and I'm talking about 10, 12, 14-year-old, not 3, 4-year-olds, to be honest and open with their kids and talk to them openly about what the family's facing and what people in this country are facing, so that they don't go on thinking money grows on trees?
Well, I think here's what's really great. We're going to become emotionally fit because we have to. Necessity is there. But the thing that gives people hope is not positive thinking, it's role models. Sir John Templeton is one of my heroes. I interviewed him not long ago, and he just passed away, as you probably know, about a week ago. And here's a man who started with nothing in 1939. Hitler is invading, and he went out at that time and said, maximum pessimism is when you can do the best. This is when you can grow. He went out and he took stocks here in the U.S. that were on the floor and got them for $1 each, borrowed $10,000, and built the basis of a multi-billion-dollar empire. Today, even though he's passed, he has this foundation that's about $1.5 billion endowment. It gives away $70 million a year, and it's all because this man, when Japan after the war went to the floor, that's where he went. When Brazil and when South America's inflation was going crazy, that's where he went. When no one went to China, that's where he went. If you go to where maximum pessimism is, you can shift it. But with your kids, they're going to have to change. They don't have a choice. And that's what's going to make us stronger. Necessity is going to make it happen. We can step up, though, by modeling. And one last thing.
Quickly,
finding a way to get outside yourself. When things are the worst for you, there's always somebody doing worse. 2/3 or almost a little more than half this planet lives on $2 a day. We're stronger than we think we are, and we can train ourselves to be able to take advantage of the tough times.
Whatever the experience it is, it's so valuable. And here's my best advice. Welcome all experiences. You never know which one is going to turn everything on. Don't put up the walls. The same wall that keeps out disappointment keeps out happiness. Take down the walls. Go for the experience. Let it teach you.
Here's the next attitude disease. Overcaution. Some people never will have much. They're too cautious. Now, you can also be too reckless, but you can also be too cautious. This is called the timid approach to life. And my caution was always the risk. Risk used to drive me right up the wall. I used to say, what if this happens? It's called the language of the poor. What if this happens? And on top of that, if this was to happen, look at the fix I'd be in. I better not try. I could always ace myself out. Then I'll tell you what changed my whole life when I finally discovered it's all risky. The minute you were born, it got risky. If you think trying is risky, wait till they hand you the bill for not trying. If you think investing is risky, wait till you get the tab for not investing. See, it's all risky. Getting married is risky. Having children is risky. Going into business is risky. Investing your money is risky. It's all risky. I'll tell you how risky life is. You're not going to get out alive. That's risky. The Englishman says, well, if that's the way it's going to work out, let's give it a go. Right, that's what it's for. Give it a go. Somebody says, yeah, but I'm looking for safety and security. Fine, then huddle in a corner. We'll cover you with a sheet, bring you 3 meals a day. And we'll protect you, feed you, look after you, care for you. We won't let anything happen to you, and you'll probably live to be 100. The guy said, well, yeah, I'd live to be 100. But what a way to live. Right. What a way to live, safe and secure. Don't ask for security. Ask for adventure. Better to live 30 years full of adventure than 100 years safe in the corner. And see, it's not important how long you live. What's important is how you live. Here's the next attitude disease. We're almost through with this motley list. In fact, we're almost through. Hang on. The next one is pessimism. Pessimism, the deadly disease of always looking on the bad side, the problem side, the difficult side, checking all the reasons why it can't be done. The poor pessimist leads an ugly life. He doesn't try to figure out what's right. He tries to figure out what's wrong. He doesn't look for virtue. He looks for faults. And when he finds them, he's delighted. How ugly. This is the poor guy who looks through the window, doesn't see the sunset. He sees the specks on the window. And this is the poor guy, right, who rushes up, takes such leave of his senses. This guy rushes up and he says, I've got 5 good reasons why it won't work. He's so dumb he doesn't know all he needs 1. He's got 5. To the pessimist, the glass is always half empty. To the optimist, the glass is half full. Why would the same measure affect people two different ways? Answer, it all depends on how you look at it. Our lives are mostly affected by the way we think things are, not the way they are. The way we think they are affects us most. There's a subject we don't have time to get into tonight called better thinking habits. One of the major things Shoaff taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shoaff taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become. How awesome. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seem to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. You walk around on your financial knees. They call you economic peewee. The guy says, I want to be a great leader. Wonderful. The first thing we do is follow him to his house. When we get there, we walk in and check his library, number one. Somebody says, well, why check his library? The reason is because what a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. You would not believe. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. The kids back in Danbury, Connecticut, high school, they're asking me questions one day. I'm talking to the kids. Kids got good questions these days. One of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. You got to be wise and careful. I asked the kids, what would happen if somebody dropped sugar in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be okay. I said, what if somebody dropped strychnine in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson one. Life is both sugar and strychnine. You gotta be careful. I said, what if my worst enemy drops in the sugar? They said, will you be okay? I said, what if my best friend, even by accident, drops in the strychnine? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson two, watch your coffee. You got to be careful. See, it doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff. It doesn't matter where you get the bad stuff. It'll still do its damage on your bank account, wherever you get it. Mr. Shoaff gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him when he said, Jim, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. How important. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the results. Okay, here's the last disease, and we're through with this list. In fact, we're almost through. Hang on. The last subject is very brief. The last disease, but this one is deadly. Engage in this one, indulge in it even slightly, and you might as well forget the future, because it's going to forget you. Complaining, crying, whining, griping, a Bible word called murmuring. See, that'll ace your future. Spend 5 minutes complaining, and you have wasted 5. And you may have begun what's known as economic cancer of the bone. Surely they will soon haul you off into a financial desert and there let you choke on the dust of your own regret. I hope I said that well, so you won't forget. It's a deadly disease. If you don't think it's bad, ask the children of Israel of Old Testament fame. Typical of us all, their story just happened to get in the book. Story says, children of Israel were slaves. God performed a series of dazzling miracles and got them out. And now they're heading for the promised land. Remember the story? Heading for the promised land. Tragedy of the story, they never got there. Reason. From day one, they started to complain. They griped about the water. They griped about the weather. They whined and cried and griped about the food. They griped about the leadership. They whined and cried because it was too far, too cold, too hot, too difficult, too miserable. I mean, they whined and cried for years. Finally, God said, I've had it, trip canceled. Or something like that. The story says they died in the desert, never got to the promised land. Which I think means 2 things. Indulge in this long enough, you get your future canceled. And I guess it also means even God himself can only take so much. Okay. Just be on the lookout of the things that can destroy all the good you start. The war is on. And this evening, tomorrow, mentally, personally, socially, economically, you got to make sure you're winning the war. And this is